Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome,
Okay,
ladies
sure.
and gentlemen. Welcome to Nirmal Bang. I'm here all that year. We have with us Mr. BP Sharma, former MD and CEO at Bank of India, joining in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sharma. It's a pleasure to speak to you as well after a really long time. My first question coming to you over here is
Thank
with
you.
regards to the impact of COVID on the banking sector as a whole. Uh, Clearly, a lot has been done by the RBI as well with regards to where different sectors are concerned in terms of giving out relief. However, the direct impact of it is going to be with regards to where banks are concerned. How are you seeing the impact of something like this play out?
See, the impact for the present has been paused because of the RBI relaxation, and it will continue till that resettlement period is over. As on date, the banks are not in, I will say, not in much pressure. And thanks to this guarantee scheme of the government, there has been some credit offtake in almost all banks. So presently, the situation is okay.
Right. So, Mr. Sharma, right now, do you think that the RBI still needs to develop a clear strategy on what to do from here on? Or do you think what they've given out is enough? Because on one end, it is legally bound to an inflation target as well. Yet at this juncture, there is a strong argument to look past the current spurt in inflation and test the limits of both conventional as well as the unconventional monetary policy.
This is a very extraordinary situation which the entire world is facing and struggling. So I don't think inflation should be an overriding factor in planning out any strategy by the regulator globally. But whether further course is required depends, again, not on economy, but on COVID vaccine. Unless COVID vaccine is in place and a substantial population of the country comprising of medical, paramedical, police, armed force, and senior citizens are vaccinated, it will be difficult to restore the economy to pre-COVID level. So here is a factor which depends on scientists, which they are struggling and working around the clock. This has nothing to do with the requirement of banks and the economy, but they are dependent on this. But within that, the way the resumption is taking place to Indian economy, I think we are slowly inching towards normal, subject to COVID being contained at this level. So the substantial or the critical factor is how the human race face this pandemic. This remains a very critical and limiting factor for all our efforts.
Right. So, Mr. Sharma, do you think
Any planning,
yeah, go on.
any planning or strategy is again subject to this COVID limitation. Let's be honest about that.
Right. So, Mr. Sharma, overall, if you talk about the RBI as well, they've gone ahead and mandated the banks to maintain a SLR of around 80%. Usually, the SLR maintained by banks is usually much higher than this. And particularly after COVID outbreak, banks took to maintaining even higher SLR. What would this actually mean for the financial system as a whole in terms of transmission?
See, speaking from a profitability angle, is having a negative spread to bank's balance sheet. in a normal situation, but two in a scenario where the credit uptake, excepting for this restructuring of the accounts on account of RBI relaxations, is low. Thereby, there is a huge surplus with the banks. So they don't have option but put in SLR. But if it continues for a long time, it may not be healthy for the banks. Banks are basically meant to lend, not to invest. Investment is only a short-term liquidity management operation. But if banks start looking at investment as a source of income, that won't be good in long term. I'm quite sure about that.
Right. And overall, the RBI has taken a step with regards to where the loan recast scheme is concerned. Do you think that is going to be a big relief to borrowers as well as banks? Or do you think the proposal on loan restructuring will let the banks tackle the stressed assets and NPA issues as well?
We will go a bit beyond that. After this lockdown and everything, the entire industrial production and service sector came to a standstill. Now, this close down of the economic activities on account of COVID was a temporary lockdown. Had this measure not been taken, probably in many industries, this closure would have become permanent. So it is in the overall interest of country's economy. The borrowers and the banks in the process might have been benefited, but the decision has been taken keeping into the economy of the country. I don't think there was a better option than this.
Right. And with all of this, we have, the moratorium which was given as well with regards to where the loans were concerned. How big an issue is stressed assets and NPAs going to be for the banks in the next probably 6 to 12 months?
See, let us face the reality. The borrowers have been provided additional finance and obviously beyond MPPA because of the extraordinary situation. Now, this extra or additional loan which the borrower has been provided, they want to be in a position to pay over time. It will take a very long time. First, the economy has to revive. Their production has to reach the level, pre-COVID level. They earn some profit. They service the existing loan before restructuring. And then eventually they will repay the additional amount. So it will be for a longer duration. If banks expect that moment the moratorium period is over, the borrowers will repay, I think that will be a bit imaginary.
Right. And,
yes.
Right. And overall, if you talk about the repo rate as well, the RBI has done enough with regards to cuts. Yes, probably they still have some bit of more room. However, the credit offtake has continued to remain sluggish. Are you expecting a pickup in the near future? And for the credit offtake to pick up as well, do you think that the banks need to set aside credit for new firms and raise their disbursements as well to newer entities rather than just provide to the existing borrowers?
See, as I have told you at the beginning, the banks have surplus fund. They should look at the opportunity of credit offtake. No doubt about that. New industry coming up, financing these new industries is definitely a good idea, as they are post-COVID industries. They are starting up with without being affected by the COVID. Such type of industries, I think, should be financed by the bank, subject to assessment, risk rating. But question is, all these exercise and planning will take place, as I have told you at the beginning, the pandemic is contained. The
Right.
economists or the bankers have very little role so far as pandemic is concerned. They should finance. I'm with you. New industries should be financed so that the credit uptake takes place and the GDP starts picking up.
Right. And then with this, what's happening is clearly the private sector banks have been the first ones to react and raise capital to protect their balance sheet. What message is this giving the system currently, according to you? And do you think the public sector lenders also need to now come out and start raising money?
I think many public sector banks have started raising. I can tell you about Canara Bank. I can tell you even other banks. They've all started raising capital, no doubt about that. And they have to.
Right.
Because the ability of government to recapitalize the banks have come to a saturated level. Let's be honest about that. So banks have to raise their capital. But at what cost? That is definitely an important question.
Right. So what, according to you, should be the amount that public sector banks need to raise right now?
It all depends on the capital adequacy of bank. It varies from bank to bank. Some banks are well capitalized, some banks are not. But if we take a 2 years time zone, where we expect the pre-COVID economic level will be reached and will start growing up, then the capital requirement will go up. I think all banks are planning accordingly and having a strategy in place, both public sector and private sector.
Right. And overall, Mr. Sharma, clearly given the trend in the moratorium numbers, do you think that the asset quality impact is going to be massive? Do you think there is going to be a major struggle for the banking sector?
See, today there is a pause because of RBI disposal. But once the pause is taken out or reactivized, it all depends. As I've been telling repeatedly, India has the potentiality to recover fast. The economy can be restored quickly, and probably banks need not have to struggle for asset quality, provided and hopefully the pandemic, there is an answer or there is a solution to pandemic. Even otherwise, it is not a case that all those restructured cases, the borrowers will repay. There will be some delinquency. But then that has been guaranteed by the government. So I don't think it's going to create a big problem for the banks in short term. But if pandemic continues, God forbids, or something else happens, then the situation will be different. But today I look at with this government guarantee and slowly the industry is picking up, I don't think there will be undue pressure on asset quality. Let's be optimistic. This is a time the entire nation should be optimistic.
Correct. And Mr. Sharma, do you think the merger integration in the public sector space is something which could be a possibility and would take up most of the time and effort in FY21, because growth will not be a focus area from here on?
Please come again. Your voice is breaking.
Okay. I'm saying my question to you is currently, what's the sense that
I
you
beg
have?
your pardon. The voice is breaking.
Can you hear me now? Mr. Sharma, can you hear me?
It's not. Yes, yes. Now I can hear you.
You can hear me, right? I'm saying, do you think that the merger integration in the public sector space is something
Right.
that could take up most of the time and effort in this year? Because growth is something which is not really going to be a focus for any of the sectors.
See, merger is definitely long and cumbersome process. Legally, the banks have been merged as on 1st April, some of the banks. But the complete integration, when it comes to technology, when it comes to HR, when it comes to standardization of the rules and regulations, definitely it will take time. But I can tell you, much before the merger, the government had come up with the idea of a coordinating committee comprising of the EDs of the banks being merged with each other. And many things have been standardized. Now that is being implemented in these banks. I think another 6 months, it will be okay. But so far HR integration is concerned, it is something, the time is the solution.
Right. And do you see
Or I
M&As
can say
happening?
time is the ultimate healer.
Right.
It takes time.
Right. Right. So, Mr. Sharma, do you see M&As happening in the private banking space as well, given that there are some banks with probably very weak capital position as well as high NPAs?
If you look at the history before 61, before nationalization of banks, after nationalization, tell me, is it a new process? The private sector banks come up like mushroom growth and start merging or getting closed down. This is a continuous process. The market drives that. This process will continue. There are two different players. One player, set of players supported by government, another set of players only driven by market force. And the story continues for private sector banks. Can you tell me which private sector bank has completed 100 years or 50 years?
Correct. So
Nothing
Mr.
new about that.
Correct. So Mr. Sharma, overall, how do you actually see things moving from here on? Because everyone's of the opinion that the Indian banking system will be one of the slowest to recover.
See, banking industry in any country for that matter, especially in our country, is a sponge of Indian economy. Okay. If there is some slowdown in the economy, the immediate impact first comes on the banks. And when economy recovers, the impact comes to the banking industry at last. That is something we'll have to reconcile and work accordingly. It will take time. It's like a sponge or buffer zone.
Correct.
It has to observe. It has no observe.
And overall, if you go to see, apart from what's happening in the banking sector as well, how do you see the credit demand in the near term? And what will it take for the government or the regulator to revive the credit demand according to you?
See, with this restructuring and refinance, some credit uptake has taken place. Then one of the factors that is coming in the way of restoring the economy is large-scale migrant labor who were forced to leave their state, went back to their state, their home state, and now they are slowly in the process of coming back. In Bhubaneswar, because I'm from Odisha, I can tell you, the textile mills of Surat, at least 3 lakh workers from one district of Odisha are working there for 3 generations. Now, when this COVID came, everything was closed down. Unfortunately, the labor were not paid their salary. They could not pay rent. So they traveled all the way to Odisha, creating a huge financial burden on the state government. Now, after things have improved, now these people are from Surat are coming and taking back these people. But this process is started. Similar must be the situation elsewhere. So another 1-2 months, once the production picks up, there will be credit offtake. Definitely, at least in old economy. So far, service sector is concerned, we still have a long way to go.
Correct. I think
I am confident, old economy, with the re-migration of labor, credit offtake will start.
Absolutely. It's still a long way away.
But now is the time the government, the industry should have a policy for future. If such a natural calamity takes place, we should have a policy of retaining the labor. See, had they retained them, the production would have started 2 months back. This is a lesson we must learn and have a policy in place for future. In a very lighter vein, we have a neighbor who is exporting terrorism to us, and another neighbor who is suspected to creating virus for world. So we need to have a policy because this is not the first time, nor it will be last time.
Correct.
We ought to have a policy where such an emergency, the labors are taken care of, at least bare minimum subsistence amount is paid, they are retained. That will ensure 2 things: quick start of production and the loyalty of the labor. Now, this is a big lesson all industrialists and all policymakers should learn.
Absolutely, absolutely right, Mr. Sharma. As you mentioned, that in times of these kind of calamities, there should be a policy that should be in place as well. But thank you so much for joining us in the show. It was a pleasure to have you. Great insights that we've picked up from you about the industry as a whole. And it was really great to speak to you as well. I hope you enjoyed our conversation as well. And we will see you back soon again. Thank you so much and stay safe.